7-month-old Emmanuel Haro vanished in broad daylight. At least that's what his mom told the cops. 12 hours later, the story imploded. Detectives realized the baby hadn't been snatched. He'd been dead for days, his body tucked away somewhere while his parents rehearsed a fairy tale abduction so bold even the veterans in the squad room had to stop and stare at the evidence photos. If you're new here, I am the person who spends Friday nights digging into the cases that slip through the cracks but still keep me awake at 3 a.m. Today, we're heading to Riverside County, California, where a frantic missing baby call turned into a homicide probe, a county-wide manhunt for a body, and a hard look at how every safety net meant to protect a kid can still fail spectacularly. Grab whatever drink gets you through the rough stuff. This one's heavy, but it matters. August 15, 2025. Rebecca Haro storms into the Riverside Sheriff Station, mascara running, voice cracking. She's got a shiner on her left eye and scratches on her arms. Her story? A masked man snatched Emmanuel from the back seat while she fought like hell in the Food 4 Less parking lot on Van Buren. Deputies launched the works choppers overhead, canines sniffing every inch of asphalt, traffic cones for miles. But 2 red flags pop up fast. Surveillance shows Rebecca leaving the store alone. No baby bucket, no scuffle, nothing. Then detectives swing by the house for photos and see Jake Haro already loading suitcases into a beat-up Tacoma. When they ask why he is skipping town in the middle of the biggest search the county has ever run, he shrugs and says, "Sometimes you just feel like the walls are closing in." Not exactly the panic you'd expect from a terrified dad. By nightfall, they've got a warrant for the house on Camellia Court. Inside is nightmare fuel. The crib mattress is soaked with rust-colored stains. A rectangle of carpet's been hacked out with kitchen shears. In the master bedroom closet sits a gallon Ziploc bag of baby clothes bleached stiff. Still wet. Same rust spots. On a phone pulled from the junk drawer. How fast does rigor mortis set in? Can CPS take kids if you spank too hard? Search history going all the way back to August 6th. Here's the kicker. Prosecutors now think Emmanuel died between August 5th and 14 up to 9 days of hiding the body while mom and dad practiced lines like, "He was reaching for my necklace." They ran those lines in front of their Ring camera. The one they forgot was still rolling. This wasn't some one-off explosion. Riverside County CPS had 6 calls on Emmanuel since January. 6. Each flagged bruises, malnourishment, failure to thrive. Twice her doctors logged spiral fractures, classic for violent twisting. Twice Jake blamed clumsy mishaps, rolled off the couch, caught in the crib slats. And twice, the kid went home. Why? Because the Haros looked the part: clean clothes, polite smiles. First-time parent nervousness. Jake's prior record makes it worse. In 2023, he copped a felony child abuse plea for hurting a previous girlfriend's toddler. The sentence? Probation and parenting classes. The judge praised his steady employment and remorse. That same judge is now staring down a recall petition that accuses the bench of having blood on its hands. Detectives bring Rebecca in on August 16th. She sticks to the kidnapping script for 23 minutes flat. Then they show her the parking lot footage. She doesn't confess to murder. She pivots to full victim mode. Jake beat her and the baby, she says. She helped hide the body because Jake swore he'd kill her next. Jake, interviewed 2 doors down, says Rebecca snapped during a diaper change and shook the baby hard enough to scramble his brain. Classic, he said, she said, but the evidence isn't playing favorites. Autopsy results: once the coroner finally had a body reveal healed rib fractures, a skull fracture, and old brain bleeds. The medical examiner's verdict: homicide by blunt force trauma with non-accidental trauma consistent with ongoing abuse. Translation: the kid suffered for weeks. As of this recording, Emmanuel's remains are still missing. Jake allegedly told a cellmate he wrapped the baby in a comforter, drove to the desert, and flung the bundle into a ravine. The inmate wore a wire for a lighter sentence. Cadaver dogs, heat-skin drones, and weekend church volunteers with coolers of water have scoured the rocks and rattlesnakes, but so for nothing. The search teams refuse to quit. Every sunrise, another grid square gets walked. Both parents face murder charges with malice aforethought, plus conspiracy to file false reports. Bail set at $1 million each, money neither one has. Rebecca's public defender is murmuring about a plea for testimony against Jake, but prosecutors want separate trials to keep their narratives from canceling each other out. The DA's press conference was brutally honest. This child never stood a chance, not just because of the monsters in his home, but because every system meant to protect him failed. Calls to Riverside's abuse hotline have tripled since August. Mandatory reporter trainings are booked through Christmas. If you think a kid's in danger, dial 1-8004 for a child. You can stay anonymous, and one call can literally save a life. Outside the courthouse, a memorial keeps growing. Plush elephants, candles, notes that read, "Fly high, little man," and "Justice for Emmanuel." 200 bikers rolled past the boarded-up Haro house in silence, engines throttled low. The house itself has been egged so often the landlord gave up and nailed plywood across the doors. Neighbors told reporters they heard Emmanuel cry for hours. "But we didn't want to get involved." Someone spray-painted that quote on the plywood. "We didn't want to get involved." A daily reminder that sometimes indifference kills. Trials are penciled in for early 2026. But the DA says they won't move forward until Emmanuel is found. Rebecca and Jake sit in adjacent cells at Southwest Detention, no contact allowed, both in protective custody because, ironically, even jail has a hierarchy and child killers sit at the bottom. State lawmakers are fast-tracking Emmanuel's law, which would slap automatic prison time on any adult previously convicted of felony child abuse who abuses another kid. Bipartisan support, public outrage, and the simplest logic on the planet: if you hurt a child once, you don't get a second chance. Want updates when the trial starts, or if they find Emmanuel? Smash subscribe and ring the bell. Drop "Justice for Emmanuel" in the comments so I know you ray here for the long haul. 7 months. That's all Emmanuel Haro got. No first steps, no first words, no birthday cake. Instead, his story is one of silence, suffering, and systemic failure. We can't change the ending, but we can refuse to look away. Share this story. Speak up for the kids who can't, because silence is deadly. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.